Rock.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the Carbon Career and Technical Institute Joint Operating Committee meeting, regular meeting of January 20th, 2022. And we all rise for a salute to the flag and a pledge of allegiance to the nation. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
United States of America
and
to the republic
for
for
which
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
for all. Thank you. Can we have a roll call, Mrs. Graver?
Mr. Strubinger,
Present.
Mr. Fowler,
Present.
Mr. Paulus,
Here.
Mr. Mansberry,
Present.
Mr. Connors,
Present.
and also in attendance this evening, we have Mr. David Reinbold, Administrative Director, Mr. Brent Borzak, Principal, Mr. Ken Walters, Supervisor of Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Jeffrey Deutsch, Business Administrator, Treasurer, Mrs. Christine Travato, Facilitator of Special Education, Attorney Robert Yurchak, our Solicitor, Mr. David McAndrew Jr., Panther Valley School District Superintendent, serving as our Superintendent of Record, Ms. Annalee Conway, CCTI Education Association President, Mr. Stephen Anderson, CCTI Education Association Vice President. Am I missing anyone?
Did you get our solicitor?
I did indeed.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Graver.
You're very welcome.
Moving on to item number 4 on the agenda. The committee met in executive session, the Joint Operating Committee, prior to the meeting to discuss personnel, litigation, and negotiation items. No decision was made. Moving on to item number 5, letters of appointment. The chair will seek a motion in a second. Well, we'll take A and B, I suppose, at the same time. A and B under letters of appointment. The chair will seek a motion in a second to acknowledge receipt of the letter of appointment of alternative representative to the Carbon Career and Technical Institute Joint Operating Committee. 1-year term, December 2021 through December 2022. And we'll also take item B under this motion in a second to acknowledge receipt of the letter of appointment to the Carbon Career and Technical Institute Authority 5-year term, January 2022 through December 2026, the Heighton School District, Mr. Walter Slomzowicz. Can we have a motion in a second?
So moved, Bill.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill and Nathan. We have a motion in a second for items A and B. Are there any questions or comments? I think I forgot to mention the Heighton's alternate will be Mr. Jeremy Galouche. Glausch, okay.
Yep.
And are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will acknowledge the receipt of those letters. Moving on to item number 6 on the agenda, approval of minutes. The chair will seek a motion in a second to approve the minutes of the December 16, 2021 reorganization and regular meeting. Can we have a motion in a second?
So moved, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Tom, I'll second.
Tom, thanks, Tom. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or comments to that? Hearing none, all those in favor to approve the minutes of the December 16, 2021 meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will approve the minutes of the December 16, 2021. Moving on to item number 7, courtesy of the floor to visitors. Do we have anyone, Mrs. Graver?
Yes, we have Mr. Stephen Anderson, our CCTI Education Association Vice President.
Good evening, everyone. Despite the interruptions to our schedule from the recent inclement weather, the staff and students at CCTI continue to make progress. The second marking period wrapped up last week, and this week, the district skills competitions and keystone testing concluded. The association would also like to thank Mr. Borzak and Ms. Graver for switching all of our paperwork to digital copies so that they can be found on our school website. Finally, we would like to thank the JOC for their hard work and meeting with us in order to ratify a new contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Anyone else? Hearing no one else wants to speak, moving on to item number 8, the approval of the treasurer's report for December 2021. The chair will seek a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report for December 2021, showing a final balance of $6,547,272.83 in the general fund and $73,870.89 in the student activities account. Can we have a motion and a second?
So move, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll second.
Nathan, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, can you roll that, Mrs. Graver?
Mr. Paulus,
Did you hear me?
oh, no, I did not. Sorry about that. Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Mansberry,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Yes.
Mr. Strubinger.
Yes, I think you forgot Mrs. Paulus, Mr. Paulus.
Oh, we,
Can we have a yay or a nay from Mr. Paulus?
yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Motion passes 5 ayes, no nos, to approve the treasury report for December 2021. Moving on to item number 9 on the agenda, approval of the payment of bills. Chair will seek a motion and a second to approve payment of bills, general fund and other accounts. Note the committee members with questions or requesting a copy of any payment, please contact the CCTI business office prior to the scheduled meeting. Can we have a motion and a second to approve the payment of the bills from the general fund and other accounts?
So move, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. I'll second that. We have a motion and a second to approve the payment of bills from the general fund and other accounts. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the payment of the bills? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote on that, Mrs. Graver?
Mr. Paulus,
Yes.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Mansberry,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Yes.
Mr. Strubinger.
Yes. 5 ayes, the motion passes, and we'll pay the bills. Moving on to item number 10, the administrative reports. Mr. Reinbold, Administrative Director.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Struminger. The first item is we were planning on having Autumn Fry, the Assistant Advisor for Skills USA, and Tom Bartholomew, also another Assistant Advisor for Skills USA. And some students talked to us about Skills USA and their success at the recent district competition. But since we are Zoom tonight, they will come to the February meeting. But there was a lot of good news that they will pass on to at that meeting, and we'll send some information out before that. We had a lot of winners at the district competition who will be moving on to the state competition. So that's always good news. Mr. Borzak's report.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Reinbold. We're all excited to move into the new year, 2022. And I will say our staff have been doing a distinguished job. Our students have been doing excellent, as Mr. Anderson and Mr. Reinbold had pointed out with the student competitions. You know, we have a lot going on for February. February's Career and Technical Education Month, and put a little committee together this year. And I really want to do, well, I'll tell you about it probably at the February meeting, and maybe send some things out. We have a bunch of activities we're going to try to implement in February. We're involving student council and a lot of the other career and technical organizations. And it's going to be a really unique one this year. In years past, I mean, yeah, we make note of it, but it's something that's very important to recognize. And we have a lot of great things we'll be talking about more in the February meeting that we're in the planning stages of now. So again, February is Current Tech Ed Month. And so March 1st, as always, is the apps start coming in for the new school year. So my guidance counselor, myself, our staff have been going out, to the districts, asking the districts they want to send students up to shadow, do small tours. So we're in the planning stages of that. And I will say, I just want to make note of our cooperative education program and Mrs. Clark. She's doing an unbelievable job. She's new to the role and she's really, really taking it to the next level. We have students placed in, in employment opportunities that they've never been in before in past years. And she's just doing a great job and she's very motivational. And I love working with her. So I just want to throw a little plug in for her because she's just doing a great job. Our salon's open, the school store, the restaurant. So a lot of things are going really good here, and we're continuing into this new school year and have a lot planned for the months ahead. So that would conclude my report. If anyone has any particular questions, I'd be willing to answer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Borzak. Mr. Deutsch, Business Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Reinbold, and hello, everyone again. I don't have much this evening, just a quick update on our 2022-23 budget. I understand both Palmerton School District and Panther Valley School District approved our 22-23 budget. So I want to thank those districts. And if there's any questions on our 22-23 budget, please, again, forward them to me. The other districts could start voting on our budget at any time at their convenience. But again, any questions, please contact me. I really appreciate it. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
you.
thanks, Jeff. Yeah, and thank you to Palmerton and Panther Valley for approving a budget. We really appreciate that. Special education, Mrs. Travato.
Everyone, so our Keystone tests are wrapping up this week and students with special needs are provided their accommodations as per their IEPs or 504 service plans. Our annual assessment window for English language learners is open from January 6th through February 18th. It's called the Access Test, and the purpose of it is to monitor the students' progress in learning academic English. So it assesses 4 language domains: the listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And ELLs with disabilities are provided accommodations as per their IEP. Regarding the homelessness, CCTI's homelessness webpage has been updated. So I invite you to take a look at that on CCTI's website under the Students tab. And then for informational purposes, CCTI, I have spoken about this in the past. We do provide a range of supports for our students, from academic supports. We have after-school tutoring. We have in-school tutoring. We have tutors coming in addition to our teachers. We have co-teachers and instructional aides in our class. We also have our student assistance program. And in instances where students may be having difficulty getting along with their peers, this happens from time to time. We know that, especially with teenagers. We do have what we call a conflict resolution. It's an intervention in which we allow students to come to a safe place with staff, usually a guidance counselor. Sometimes I'm involved. Mr. D'Amato, our school police officer, is usually involved, and students get the opportunity to just talk their problems out, and then we try to find out what the root cause of it. And it's really a real beneficial intervention because it removes that barrier. So the students are able to focus on their academics again, and they usually end up in a peaceful resolution and they can move on. So I just want to point that out. I don't know if we talk about that that often. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walters, Building and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Reinbold. Just a couple of quick updates here this evening. My team and I are currently updating our HERA and hazardous communication compliance standards with our contractor, JMSI Environmental. The HERA is the asbestos hazard and our hazard communication programs. We're currently reviewing solutions to our visitor management integration with our security system. I'm awaiting some product to replace all our CO detectors due to end of product life since our building project in all of our technical areas. I'd like to thank Greg Arnold for service years to CCTI and for staying on our maintenance sub list. I continue to look for employees to fill our substitute and full-time maintenance positions. I always like to mention that during the board meeting. And lastly, I'm working on roof repairs to extend our current warranty for another 10 years. That warranty comes due in September of 22. And that concludes my report, Mr. Reinbold.
Okay, thank you. And I also would like to join in and thank Mr. Arnold, Greg Arnold, for his commitment to the district and his position over the years. He did a great job and he will be missed. Technology report, Mr. Rinda.
Thank you, Mr. Reinbold. Good evening. Just a few updates for technology. Number one, Chromebooks. All new Chromebooks are set up and distributed to those in need. That's an ongoing throughout the year. Graphic design. We just have a couple of computers that finish updating to Monterey operating system for graphic design. Also set up 8 previous generation iMacs for backup usage as needed. We actually utilized those during Keystone testing when we had extra students in the room. 10 new laptops set up. Those are also backup for any students or anybody that might be out on quarantine or anything for graphic design and drafting. Power School started implementation of special ed add-ons. Project schedule set, and we went through the basic overview of the project. Keystone testing, online testing is going well. We also set them up to work on the Chromebooks, so that works out well too. CCTI website updates and a few new pages added. And also continued support and training to staff and students with Google Suite and all technology needs. That concludes my report for this evening, unless anyone has any questions.
Okay, and Mr. McAndrew, any words for us?
I have nothing today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave. And that concludes my report, Mr. Struminger.
Thank you, Mr. Reinbold. Moving on to item number 9 or 11 on the agenda, items of business under personnel. We'll take items A through F, and E. The E is updated on the addendum. We'll take items through A through F, E being updated on the addendum. The chair will seek a motion in a second to approve those items of personnel, A through F, and the update on item E.
So move, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll second.
Thank you, Nathan. We have a motion and a second to approve items A through F with E being updated. Are there any questions or comments on these items? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote on A through F and the update on E on the addendum?
Mr. Paulus,
Yes.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Mansberry,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Yes.
Mr. Strubinger.
Yes. 5 ayes, no nos. Items A through F are approved, and the update on item number E. Moving on to items of business under education. We'll take items A through G, and D, E, F, and G are on the addendum. Items A through G with items D, E, F, and G are on the addendum. Can we have a motion and a second?
So move, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Tom, I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. We have a motion and a second on items A through G with D, E, F, and G are on the addendum. Are there any questions or comments on these items?
No.
Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote on that, Mrs. Graver?
Mr. Paulus,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Mansberry,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Yes.
Mr. Strubinger.
Yes. All items are yes, and we will approve items A through G. D, E, F, and G are on the addendum under education. Moving on to budget and finance. There is nothing under budget and finance. Moving on to item built under items of business for building and grounds. There is none for that also. Moving on to item under items of business administrative. We'll take items A through E. And E is on the addendum. It's on the other side of the addendum. E is on the addendum. Can we have a motion and a second under administrative?
So move, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Nathan, I'll second.
Thanks, Nathan. We have a motion and a second to approve under administrative items A through E. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, can we have a roll call on that, Mrs. Graver?
Mr. Paulus,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Mansberry,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Yes.
Mr. Strubinger.
Yes. Items A through E will be approved. 5 yeses, no nos.
And there is, Mr. Strubing, there is also an addendum, excuse me, addendum F and G under administrative. If you could please read those, Chris Graver.
F and G.
F will be to appoint Mr. Brent Borzak as Assistant to the Administrative Director through March 31st for the agreement as presented. Did you want to vote separately on these two?
What is the other one? Does it have to do with? Well, we'll take this to begin with.
Yeah, do them separately. There's 2 separate ones. That'll work.
Yeah. And what's the title for Mr. Brent Borzak?
Assistant to the Administrative Director through March 31st.
Through March 31st. So we have a motion to approve Mr. Brent Borzak as the Assistant to the Director through March 31st. Are there any questions or comments regarding that?
Motion.
Well, we need
Need a motion and a second?
Motion and a
I'll
second.
make the motion. Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Tom, I'll second.
Tom, thank you, Tom. We have a motion and a second to approve Mr. Borzak as Assistant to the Director through March 31st. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, can we have a roll call on that item?
Mr. Paulus,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Mansberry,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Yes.
Mr. Strubinger.
Yes. We'll have Mr. Brent Borzak appointed as Assistant to the Director through March 31st. 5 yeses, no nos. And what's the other item, Mrs. Gray?
Item G is to appoint Mr. Brent Borzak, Administrative Director, effective April 1st, 2022, per the agreement as presented.
This is,
I'll make the motion.
thank you, Bill.
And I'll second it.
Thanks, Nathan. And this is the, are there any other questions or comments regarding that? But this is approving Mr. Brent Borzak when he finishes his assistant to the director on March 31st. This will appoint him as our new director. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments regarding that? Hearing none, can you do a roll call vote on that also, Mrs. Graver?
Mr. Paulus,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Mansberry,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Yes.
Mr. Strubinger.
Yes. 5 yeses, no nos. So Mr. Brent Borzak will be our new director on April the 1st of this year.
Can I say something? Or
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I want to definitely thank everyone tonight for their votes of confidence. I want to thank Mr. Reinbold for all of his guidance over the years and his advocacy, and all the JOC members, past and present. I mean, last 22 years, everyone I've worked with in education, everyone I've learned a lot from. They've helped guide me. They believed in me, and it all came full circle here tonight, and in Carbon County, where I started my career in 1996 working on PennDOT, and remember those years and the summers at PennDOT working, how awesome it was. And look where we're at, in 2022. So really proud to guide this school. I've dedicated my life here, and will continue to do so. And I want to thank everyone. Two more people, the most special people in my life, my mom and my wife. They're my guidance. So thanks again tonight for everything. Thank you.
Congratulations, Brent. I know it's going to be a good one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, do we need to do anything regarding his position at this point in time? His current position as principal? No?
No, we're covered till a new principal is brought on board.
Okay. Moving on to item number 12, reports. Items A and item 13, administrative reports A also. Can we have a motion and a second to accept those reports?
So move, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Tom, I'll second.
Thanks, Tom. We have a motion and a second to accept the Carbon Career and Technical Institute Foundation report as presented. And then also we have a motion and a second to accept the administrative reports from Mr. Brent Borzak, principal, Mrs. Christine Travato, facilitator of special education, Mrs. Francine Klook, adult education site supervisor. Are there any questions or comments regarding these reports? Hearing none. All
Awesome.
all those in favor of accepting
Amazing.
item 12 and 13 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays? The ayes have it, and we'll accept those reports. Moving on to item number 14, old business. Is there any old business that we need to keep conducting or finish up? Hearing none. Item number 15, new and miscellaneous business. Are there any newer and miscellaneous business that anyone wants to bring forward? Hearing none. Moving on to item number 16. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Thursday, February 24th, 2022. And moving on to item number 17. The chair will seek a motion to adjourn.
So move, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Does anyone want to? Who put the second on it?
That was Nathan.
Mr. Fuller,
Nathan, thank you, Nathan. So we will be adjourned until further notice.
Once again,